Ben, how much did that sting last year, just the way it ended?
Yeah, it stung. It's a lot of work throughout a season to come up that short.
Then the team won a lot of games last year with a pretty potent offense, top 10 power play. But how do you get back to kind of a more defensive mindset, identity as a team?
Like you said, it's just a mindset. Every guy, not just guys who are more defensive in nature, but guys who score, whose job is it to score. Everyone on the ice has to be thinking defense first, or else it doesn't really work. If you only got 3 or 4 guys on the ice thinking that way, it doesn't work that way. You have to have a 5-man unit out there thinking the same way. So getting everyone to buy into that and start doing that now in preseason, get thinking that way. That's just the way we do it.
The other day, Derek talked about how kind of the best-led teams in terms of accountability comes from the players instead of the coaches. And I'm curious, as an alternate captain, like, how do you sort of build the credibility to hold those guys accountable in your locker room?
It's a process for sure. Building that trust that you're not just coming down on a guy just because he doesn't do something right, knowing that you're coming from a good place when you're doing it. Having that relationship with each guy that you can be hard on them and know after the game that, you know, you're still one of the guys. It's not nothing personal. So just knowing the guys, building relationships, and then once you have that built, once the team is a close unit off the ice, then I think on the ice things go a little smoother when you're trying to keep each other accountable.
So does that make these past few weeks, I guess, training camp into the preseason where the stakes are a little bit lower? Is that a good time to do all of that, I guess? Is that when you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big reason why we go to Traverse City, get to know each other, get to know the new guys, get the new guys into the group. The bonding part of a team is so important, you know, off the ice, becoming a group. That's why teams do so many different exercises, different trips. The best teams I've played on are the teams that are closest off the ice, so we've started that process, and it takes some time.
What do you like about this roster? What gives you hope that you guys can get those couple extra points this year or whatever?
I don't think that the makeup of the group is all that different. You know, some scoring goes out, some veteran goes out, but, you know, we have guys come in that are very similar to those roles. So in saying that, having a similar makeup, how close we were, we get a little bit more buy-in defensively. We had a tough streak there at the end of the season through March. I mean, I wouldn't say that was a normal circumstances by any stretch. So avoiding those long streaks like that, and like I said, buying in defensively, those are going to be 2 keys for us.
How much can that, you talked about kind of deep defending as a mindset, like how much of a difference does that make for a team to start a year like that as opposed to kind of find it late?
Well, I think you see the best teams, they do it right from the beginning because they've been together for a long time. I think of teams like Dallas, like Florida, groups that have been together for a while. It's kind of in them from day one at training camp, because they know what it takes, they know what it looks like. Younger teams or teams that are kind of coming together, they have to learn that, and I think that's the process that we're going through.
There are still a few guys in your room who hadn't been as close to the playoffs until last year. Like, do you see a difference in guys like Lucas and Mo and Valeno and Rasmussen who maybe hadn't, you've been to the playoffs, but those guys hadn't before?
Yeah, I think just the experience that they got down the stretch there, playing important games, sort of a light playoff experience where every game matters if, you need those points desperately. So it's sort of like the first piece to learning what it takes to be or play in the playoffs and win in the playoffs is having that desperation each game. And they got that experience last year, so the next step is to get the real thing, get in and experience it for real.
Where do you see your game complementing Mo's game? I know you guys have had some experience in the past, and kind of where do you see that step for you guys as a pair?
I think over the years I've learned you just not so much complimenting the other guy. You just play your game, and he plays his game, and over time through camp and over the years now we've played together a decent amount. We know what to expect of each other. I know what he's going to try and do in most circumstances, and I think he has a good read on what I'm going to do. So it's just time together, and as far as complimenting each other, I think you just play your game, and it'll kind of gel on its own.
I know you haven't spent like 100% of the time together the last 2 years, but in that time you have played with him. How have you seen him grow during that stretch?
Yeah, I think it's just maturing, especially as games get more important, like they were down the stretch. Sort of the ability to kind of freewheel and try different things at different times kind of shrinks down. You take the risk out of your game, I guess you could say, and you just make the next play as quick as you can to avoid mistakes, avoid bad things happening. But he's so talented that he's going to try those things, and we want him to do those things. And I think just maturing, and you see him, he's so young still. What is he, 23 years old? A lot of guys haven't even gotten to the league at that age, and he's already got a handful of games under him. So I think that maturation process is happening pretty quick for him.
Speaking of playoffs, how exciting is it to watch the Tigers across the street and the buzz around them?
Yeah, it's great. All the boys were all tuning in, watching, cheering for him all the time. Guys a bunch of the guys went to the game the other day. It's great for the city. Detroit's such a good sports city. I think you saw it last year with the Lions. In our sort of run towards a playoff spot last year. It's a great sports city, and especially when a team's having some success, it's a fun place to be as an athlete.
I know it may be a little early in the season, but is there a theme headed into the season this year?
I think kind of how we've been talking about how close we got last year. The next step is to do the real thing and get in. So everyone's hungry for that, and take it day by day. We don't want to jump too far ahead, but yeah, that would be the next step for our team.
When you look back when you were just breaking into the league as a defenseman, what were the kind of hardest things you had to learn?
Hardest things to learn, I guess, how to be consistent. You play so many games in such a short amount of time. Maintaining a level of play, and as you get, you learn new levels to your game. Trying to maintain those levels each night. That was the hardest thing for me as a young player. Is how do you bring the same game every single night? And I think the guys that have long successful careers, they find that. And I mean, you think about the Red Wings, the best players that have played here. I think of a Nick Lidstrom. They said he was, just the same player every single night. It wasn't super flashy one night, and you couldn't see him the next. It was just the same every night. So I think that's one of the hardest things to learn.
How important is that first month, Ben? It seems like, whatever team it is, you can get up to a good start. Boy, that helps a lot, rather than dig yourself a hole or anything like that.
Yeah, it helps a lot. You see teams, an unusual case would have been Edmonton last year, got off to a real slow start, but when you got some high-end talent like they do, they can kind of crawl themselves back out of there. But the first month kind of sets a good tone for the season, getting off on a strong foot. So it's important for a team like ours that's trying to build something, and there'll be urgency right from day one.
Thanks.
Alex, given your experience with the organization last year, a couple of years ago, was it only natural to come here when you got the opportunity?
Yeah, obviously, I think went through quite a bit last year, and when I decided that I wanted to give myself another shot and play, obviously really appreciated my time here in Detroit and in Grand Rapids. I've gotten to know a little bit some people in the organization, and I thought this would have been a good fit, and I'm glad it worked out.
Now, what did you do? You didn't play last year?
No, I had hip surgery in January. So if we go back maybe a year from today, I wasn't sure where my career was at. I thought maybe, that was it for me. Hockey was hard physically, but just life in general, life at home wasn't much fun. So went through the process and ended up getting surgery in January, and here we are today. So pretty grateful for the opportunity to be here. I've obviously worked really hard to come back. It's not easy at 33 to put in the work and all that, but you can only do this for so long, and hopefully I can show what I can do and what I'm capable of still doing, and help the organization in any way I can.
Is it similar to what Kaner had a little bit, or?
Yeah, I think his was slightly different, but talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and sure sounds like he was dealing with some of the same stuff. So it's been nice kind of just picking his brain for a couple of things. Obviously, he's been through the rehab and dealt with some of the things that have come with that. And again, when you go back and play, now you're putting your body through, a lot of stress and a lot of things that obviously I haven't done in a while. So it's been nice hearing from him, and just seeing him every day, like what he does. I think it is, shows how hard you gotta keep pushing forward after to make sure you stay on top of things.
So how do you feel right now?
Actually, feel pretty good. It's been a blessing. Obviously, things have gone really well. But being back here and getting an opportunity to play tonight, I remember my last game here, so I wasn't sure if that would be my last one. But hopefully, we can push the needle here and extend it a little bit longer.
What was it that made you feel as though it was worth it to put your body through everything it took to get back just to this point?
I think there was a time in like October, November where, to be quite honest, I didn't really watch much hockey. Just removed myself a little bit from all of it, and then there was like Christmas. It was the first time I got to be home in Christmas for a while with my family, my parents. And then I got the surgery in New York, and everything went great. And I think after that, I realized, the opportunity that I could have, and started watching hockey, started the rehab, and then we got to a point where I was like, okay, like I'm putting in the work now. I want to see this thing through. So, it's been quite the process. I've had the my parents, my wife, everyone's been great through this, and just thankful for the opportunity.
What do you need to show here in these preseason games?
Obviously, for me, I got to get through camp and physically, be able to play games and get through all that. I think I'm confident in that. Obviously, I haven't played in a real, NHL game or a pro game in over a year, so there'll be a little bit of an adjustment. But I think I've been around long enough. I know my game. I know my role. How I can help a team. How I can help, my line mates, and just go out and do what I do best. And the rest, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, because on PTO, do you feel pressure, or it's like, well, I had nothing to lose, really, or, and then you don't try to do too much, maybe, or, you know what I mean? It's like, what's it like when you're on a PTO?
Yeah, I've been obviously in this situation before, where I think before it was a little bit more pressure of maybe a different mindset of knowing that I belong. The contract wasn't really attached to it at the time, but I've done pretty good on PTO so far in my career, so I know how that works. I think this one's a little bit different just because all that I went through and the organization, Sean Horkoff, to give me an opportunity to come to camp and show what I can do. I'm still competing. You don't lose that as an athlete, and it's going to be hard for me to lose that anything I do. But I think just the mindset of how that I went through and I got nothing to lose here. Everything is a bonus for me. I thought maybe at one point last year, hockey was over. Now I'm back at it again. So, and feeling good. So, that's a big difference.
You've had some time with Grand Rapids, you're around these prospects here, a lot of the Grand Rapids coaching staff is here. Can you just talk about the culture that's being built down there, and what you experienced when you were with those guys and with that group?
Yeah, it's nice to see the growth. Obviously, as Detroit as organization, they've had a lot of first round picks, and a lot of picks through the first couple rounds. To see the growth from like Simon, for instance, when I played with him in Grand Rapids to where he is now. It's great to see it, and I think it's kind of like full circle. When I remember when I started, and you're around like older guys, and then you see him again, and a couple years after. But yeah, I mean, these guys just want it as much as I do, and I think that's what makes a good organization, is to compete within, the players, whether it's young guys or older guys, and I want it just as bad as they do as well, So I think that makes it for a healthy environment, and trying to help also with all that I've been through, and help the guys as well. They're starting, and it's nice sometimes to have an older guy that's been around and been able to help in different situations.
How long was that hip bothering you? Like for years? Or?
Yeah, it was quite. I was able to manage it for a while. It just got to a point where just life outside the rink was just not great. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.